Omaha man will spend decades behind bars in connection to distributing fentanyl, leading to death.
U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Nebraska says 65-year-old Paul Tony Billingsley was found guilty on Friday after a jury trial. The case stems from an incident May of 2024. Evidence revealed at the trial shows Billingsley sold fentanyl to Alyssa Larson. Documents show within an hour of that happening, she distributed that fentanyl to a victim who overdosed and died. After the death, authorities were able to use an informant and later arrest Billingsley, where they found even more fentanyl. Billingsley's sentencing is set for the middle of April. Alyssa Larson previously pleaded guilty to distribution of fentanyl resulting in death. Her sentencing is expected next month.